Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome you all on behalf of Vidya Bharati. This competition, my NEP competition, has been organized by Vidya Bharati. I welcome you all in this Facebook Live series, which has been conducted by my NEP, that is the competition organized by Vidya Bharati. I would like to now give a brief introduction of the competition. First and foremost, after almost 34 years, the new education policy has been implemented, that has been launched. And just after the launch, there was a lot of discussion, there was a lot of deliberation by various eminent people of the society, as well as the common students regarding this new education policy. Therefore, Vidya Bharati thought it right to organize a competition which will be based on the national education policy. This competition will be this competition has already been started from 20 which has been already started from 15th of September, and it will be going on till the 2nd of October. This competition has three different categories. It's not only open for school going students or college going students, but also for the college and as well as the PhD and also the citizens. So it's a very distributive competition, very exhaustive competition. This competition consists of various aspects, like the 2 minute speech giving competition, meme making competition, painting competition, posters competition. Another important competition is the letter to PM competition. So, wherein the students can write a letter about what they think or what they think about the national education policy, and they can convey it to the Honorable Prime Minister. So, this very extensive competition has been organized by Vidya Bharati. Now, in this Facebook Live today, we have Dr. Pankaj Jain. I would take this opportunity to welcome Dr. Pankaj Jain. I will now give an extensive introduction of him. He has completed his PhD from Molecular Biophysics Unit, that is BMU, at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. He has completed his postdoctoral research on neuroscience of stress at Institute of Stem Cell Biology and Regenerative uh, Medicine at Bangalore. Along with his research, he has been actively involved with the social activities in public school for past 7 years. He has also been a mentor for change for Atal Tinker Labs and coordinated the mentor program for Prodigy, that is the Gifted Children Education Program. It's great, sir. It's really great. Apart from that, he has also been a co-founder of Seed to Sapling Education, a school education startup. We are very fortunate to have you over here, sir. I would now request sir to enlighten us on the topic, that is NEP 2020 and the reforms in school education. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Gargi, for the introduction. Um, Actually, not such great person, but thanks for giving that great introduction. Now, NEP 2020, it's been going on for a long time. In fact, almost since 2015, I was in touch with Professor M.K. Sridhar, who has been in the drafting committee for the national education policy. And there have been like several deliberations, discussions, so many meetings, so many sharings of ideas by different, so like not hundreds and thousands, it's like lakhs of people. Maybe the ideas will run in crores, and this small group of people, they have done an excellent job to bring out this finally a very concise, almost like 50-60 page document, and that has a path for almost maybe at least 1 or 2 decades of education in the country. And the document has come out such a nice piece of work, and lot of very visionary ideas, lot of visionary recommendations in terms of policy it makes to the government, to all the implementing agencies, government, schools, managements, parents, teachers, the entire society, and everyone. So, and there are just so many nicer things in NEP, and I am given this task to bring out all the good reforms in school education in the NEP document, and that itself runs in like so many pages, and I can probably speak for several hours if I were to speak only about the school education reforms in NEP. But given the constraint of time, and definitely we value everybody's time, and in this next 20-25 minutes, I'll try to give a brief about some of the important things which I think, from my perspective, the most important things which I found, or the most paradigmic shift kind of reforms in NEP. So let's get started with those reforms one by one. So the first and foremost thing which NEP comes out with a very striking difference from the NEP of 1986, the previous NEP, almost 34 years back. And obviously the focus at that time was not so much on the things which we are talking in 2020. And then the focus was mainly to reach out to everyone for education and the then things. But now, finally, after 35 years, we have this a very contemporary kind of policy which talks a lot about 21st century skills, how education should be, not giving too much importance on rote learning and skills. Then it's not just like some thinking skills. It talks about cognitive skills, it talks about emotional skills, it talks about moral skills, it talks about constitutional values. So it talks about a plethora of things even in this domain of skills. So that has been like one of the biggest shift I see in the NEP of 2020. And I'll just read out a couple of things from the NEP. I am reading point 4.6. It says the key overall thrust of curriculum and pedagogy reform across all stages will be to move the education system towards real understanding and learning how to learn. And our Prime Minister rightly said a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of days back that now it's not about what to think, but how to think. And the NEP rightly says learning how to learn. So we are talking about a metacognitive aspect over here, that learning how to learn, not just learning, but learning how to learn. And away from the culture of rote learning as is present today. The goal will be to create holistic and well-rounded individuals equipped with key 21st century skills. All aspects of curriculum and pedagogy will be reoriented and revamped to attain these critical goals. So that has been like one of the most striking things which came across to me. And to achieve this goal of skills, they have suggested a lot of interesting things. One of the most important things over here was reducing the curriculum. We have been talking for a long time that there is like enormous curriculum. We can't do justice to all the skills, to all the focus that we talk about because of the enormity of curriculum itself. And that presents us a big challenge how to go about. There is a skill component over here, and then there is a huge curriculum component over there. And we as educators or teachers are always in a fix. How do we balance between all these things? And they have given a very nice solution to that. A very simple solution is, the first solution is about reducing the curriculum itself. Then even in terms of curriculum, if we see today, I mean, I myself come from a PhD background in science, but a very nice thing which is suggested again is to remove this hard separation between curricular, extracurricular, co-curricular areas. So science, maths becomes mainstream. Arts, humanities are just okay. I mean, physical education, it's okay. Even if if there's some free period, you go for some games or do some exercises. But those barriers, they have attempted to remove those very hard barriers between all these different types of curricula. So you give equal importance to physical activity also. You give equal importance to arts, humanities, everything. So all these are considered important now. Not only that, even the vocational crafts, they talk about farming, talk about carpentry, talk about pottery. So all these things are not some vocational thing just for, because we can learn so many things from all those vocational aspects also. We can learn science from arts, we can learn arts from science. So many things are all interrelated. So this hard separation is somewhere attempted to be removed, which is a very nice thing. In fact, in this day, when we talk about a lot of interdisciplinary work, transdisciplinary work, this is a very nice first step taken at the school level itself. And to achieve all these things, the pedagogy that they have talked about, that is a very nice thing. So I can see there are a couple of viewers in the live session right now, And I am right now also seeing the comments in the Facebook section. And I would like to ask a couple of quick questions to my audience over here, whoever is participating in this live session. And that is, suppose I will blow this, there is an empty glass that I have, and I'm blowing it over here. And I hope you can see that there are some droplets which are formed over here. Okay, and now if I do the same thing, I'll just blow it on the other side. I will blow it like this, and you don't see any such drops formed. Can somebody quickly answer me? How do I get the drops when I blow, and I don't get any such things when I blow? And if you feel your air, you can just keep your hand. And how does this happen? You can just see that at one point you feel very hot air blowing from your mouth, and at one point you feel it's a very cold air blowing from your mouth. So how do you think it may be happening? Should I explain you, or you want to give it a try in the chat box if somebody can reply to my question over here? While you reply, I will just quickly show another very interesting thing which we see with the students. And I have another glass of water over here, and that has cold water inside. And you can see these droplets coming outside. Now we go to the students, age 9, 10, 11, at that age, and we ask the students, from where are these water droplets coming? So where are these water droplets coming? And the students generally say that the water is coming from inside to outside, because they don't see any water anywhere over here. So somebody is saying condensation, for the earlier one also condensation, right? So, but for the students, they feel that the water is coming from inside to outside. Okay, so now if the water is coming from inside to outside, it's a very easy task to give them the answer that no, the water is not coming from inside to outside, it's about condensation. Okay. Okay, so for the first one, somebody is replying about the condensation and moist air. Just try to do it again. It's a very interesting thing, a very simple thing. So just see, there is cold air once and the hot air on the other type of blow. And in this example, there is condensation. Now we don't have to answer anything to the students. It's a very beautiful journey if you don't answer anything to the students right away. Okay, it all starts with very interesting observations. Now these are very simple observations we all have in our life. I mean, if I were to blow a small piece of paper, I won't blow like this. I will blow like this. If I have to cool down anything, I will blow it like this. It comes automatically. We have been doing it from our childhood, and nobody has taught it. So somewhere we have been observing all these things over the years, and we know it for ourselves. So in the same way, why do we go to the school and teach that child who can actually learn everything by themselves? Okay, so we don't really have to teach them anything. We just have to build upon their own thinking skills, starting with the simple observations. Sometimes the questions itself will come from the students, which is an amazing thing. They will ask, in fact, so many more questions than what we can ask as adults. And they will start figuring out the answer for that. In fact, when we go to the lower classes, they say that, no, please don't answer. We will explore it by ourselves. But as teachers, we always feel that, no, we should give our students the answer. So what the beauty thing is there in this NEP is, it talks about this constructivist approach of learning. And by that, it simply means that you construct the knowledge by yourselves. Build step by step, and don't teach anybody anything. Okay, so, and this has been suggested by some education philosophists like decades back, and they use the word that if we teach anything to a child, we take that opportunity forever. The word is very important, forever. We take that opportunity from that child forever to learn by themselves. So aren't we doing injustice to those little minds? And this has been very nicely talked about in NEP. Okay, so that is something which overwhelms me as an individual, especially coming from that background. and that is something which we are trying to address. I'll come to that in a while. So that has been something very much there in NEP. So I'll just read out another small portion from NEP, which is point 4.23. So it says, in addition to proficiency in language, these skills include scientific temper, evidence-based thinking, creativity, innovativeness, sense of aesthetic and arts. So you see these so-called science and thinking and rational kind of skills, they are nicely married with aesthetics and arts, oral and written communication, health and nutrition, physical education, wellness. So from science and arts, we are also coming to health, wellness, sports, fitness, collaboration, teamwork. So some of these life skills are coming now, problem solving. So nothing is segregated anywhere. We are talking about all these things in a very nice flow over here. Vocational exposure, digital literacy. So now digital literacy also comes into picture. Coding is there, computational thinking is there, but it doesn't stop even there. It talks about ethical and moral reasoning. They also talk about constitutional values, patriotism. So we are not only in that world, but we also owe a lot to our motherland. So that is also equally given importance. Non-violence, truth, honesty. Like India is a land of Krishna, Ram, Buddha, Mahavir, and all those values are also being talked about. In fact, they have given a lot of importance to the glorious tradition, local traditions of each place. And so NEP is talking about a lot of things about 21st century, but at the same time giving a lot of importance to our glorious past also. It's not like keeping, you are well grounded, but you are taking a big leap at the same time. So that is the beauty of this NEP, which I find. Now, I just to summarize all these things through a very simple analogy. So there is this story of caterpillar. Now, caterpillar takes its own time to develop itself into a butterfly, right? Butterfly or moth, whatever it is. Now, there was a boy, innocent boy, who thought that it has to do so much struggle, right? It's a caterpillar and this covering is there. So instead of that, I will make its job very easy and I will remove it. Okay, so it will become easier for that caterpillar to come out of the cocoon and it will quickly become a butterfly. But unknowingly, without even realizing, what that boy ended up doing is actually hurting the caterpillar or hurting that organism. Probably that is what we have been doing for several years now with this practice of rote learning or trying to simplify knowledge or learning or making the kids easy for them to remember, easy for them to understand. There was no need. Why should we make anything easy for a child to understand with the help of whatever tools, techniques? In these days, we use a lot of technology, audio-visual aids. There is absolutely no need. Any child has a potential to figure it out by themselves. Swami Vivekananda has told very nicely that education is the manifestation of perfection within. So we all have that perfection inside ourselves. We just have to create that environment for that perfection to come out of that child. And if we can do, as a country, as a society, as a school, as a classroom, if we can provide this environment to the child, that will be the biggest justice we do to our coming generation. And NEP has given a nice framework for that, for us to make that happen more easily. Okay, so one of the other, not one of the other, actually, it is one of the most important thing which I found in NEP, and that has been like, according to me, the most reformative thing, the most radical approach it has taken the way present situation is. I will again read out from NEP. It is point 0.8. It is in that introduction. It says the teacher and the teacher's condition must and will be at the center of these changes. So all this while, as a society, somehow in the last couple of decades, it was not there probably at my grandfather's time, but in the last couple of decades that has happened. The NEP says the new education policy must help reinstate teachers at all levels as the most respected and essential members of our society, because they truly shape our next generation of citizens. It must do everything to empower teachers and help them to do their job as effectively as possible. I will give my own example, or rather, several of the people who we are working as a team in Seed to Sapling Education, or so many, likewise, I'm sure there are hundreds of these people from different backgrounds. Now, I come as a PhD from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, one of the most prestigious institutions in the country. And similarly, there are several of us who are coming from this kind of background. Now, I wanted to take that leap to school education. Now, so many relatives, so many friends, so many colleagues, they told that, why are you going to school education? Come on, you are PhD from the Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, the prestigious one, and you are going to school education. Why? So somewhere you are very mildly ridiculed, you are looked down upon. So this profession of school teacher hasn't been given that kind of importance, which probably our grandfathers in that generation was not the case. Probably teachers were kept at a very higher pedestal at that time. So one good thing, but I mean, probably I just gave that bad side, but finally when you are with that child in the classroom or this group of classroom, the joy that you get from all those things, that is just like incomparable to all these things which kind of divert you from that goal that you have to be with the kids finally. So finally it's the joy which you get being with the kids, which is the case with most of us. But for some it may also be about bringing a radical shift in the education system, which we also have. But finally the main driving force is the joy of being with that child every time. And every time we be with them, we get lot of new ideas, lot of new observations, lot of new questions. And that joy of learning together with that child, we also learn each and every day from that child. So that is there, and that is probably there for all the teachers also. And NEP has done a very fantastic thing of giving importance to teachers and talking very explicitly a lot. It has dedicated almost 1 or 2 pages in 60-page document to school teachers, the kind of respect we need to give to the teachers, the kind of training. So all those things has been very nicely covered in NEP about teachers. I'll come to the teachers aspect also again in a while. And in addition to all those things, I'm just seeing time, it is already crossed 6:20. So in addition to teachers, there have been a lot of other nicer things in NEP. I'll probably quickly list down a couple of them. It has come out from the 10+2 structure to 5+3+3+4 structure. So that formative years 5, that has also been given some formal shape. So there is a lot of planning even for the early age group, the preschool that we talk about in cities that may not be there. It's Anganwadis in the villages, but not so much about learning in the Anganwadis. So it has tried to formalize those formative years also for learning. NEP has very nicely talked about education being the leveler of society. So there are a lot of differences, discriminations which has been happening in the society, and education can be one of the most powerful thing as a leveler of society. It has talked a lot about language policies. In fact, as I was introduced, I also did a postdoctorate in neuroscience, and I can see from my limited exposure to the neuroscience, we as human society has evolved a lot, and language has played one of the most important role in that process of evolution. And formative years are obviously we are very receptive to learn new languages. In fact, I'm myself ancestry from Rajasthan, born and brought up in Maharashtra, Bombay, and now settled in Bangalore. So I can comprehend so many languages, talk in so many languages, and that somewhere, I mean, there's a lot of research out there to prove all these claims. It's not really claim or just romanticizing our culture, but as anyone, as a citizen who is growing in India, we have an advantage to learn so many languages, because there are just so many languages. Each of them have their own beauty, and we learn different languages, and NEP has very nicely talked about learning different languages. That shapes a lot of things in the brain. I'll probably not go into that, but language has been one another topic which has been given a lot of importance. The local tradition, learning from a lot in the local environment, learning from the glorious past, but also talking a lot about the 21st century skills for the bright future of the individual and of the country. It also has talked a lot about school infrastructure and working conditions. So it's not only about the people, but if you go to a nicer place, you go to a nice looking building, the nice looking classroom, there is a nice ambience, there are toilets working. So it has talked about all those infrastructure, the working conditions. It has talked about vocation. It has talked about peer-to-peer learning, school clusters, support for gifted, talented students. In fact, I was coordinating this initiative for gifted students, and we see that there are some students just naturally gifted in some particular domain. It can be sports, it can be arts, it can be about science and maths, it can be anything. So trying to identify these students and nurturing them in the schools, that has also been one of the important thing NEP has talked about. But I'll just come to the one of the most important aspect again, that which again is, I'm quoting from NEP: any policy is only as good as its implementation. So we can design like the best of the policy, but it doesn't make any sense if finally on the ground we can't implement that policy. So we must acknowledge the challenges in the implementation of all the nicer things which we have laid in the policy, and plan to work hard, very hard in that direction. So we can try to glorify the past or glorify NEP to any extent, but that won't really do justice to NEP or the people who have written this beautiful document. So finally, it all boils down to how good we implement this policy, and how efficiently, how faster, or to what level can we reach that remote village, that child who also is equally talented as the one in the city, the high-end private college or the Kendriya Vidyalayas. Can we also reach to that remote school? That is also equally important, right? So we need to take NEP finally to that level. So finally, it's about the governments. If they can take all these nicer things which have been mentioned in the policy document to the that last child over there, right? Last child, that child who is there in the remote area, who is very talented, right? So with that, but there is also an important thing where we, all of us as a society, comes into picture. Okay, so it's not about government or schools or people, the stakeholders. It's their job. We as a society, the NEP has talked a lot about assessments also. For all these years, rote learning has been flourished because of the kind of assessments we were giving. It has taken a dig at the coaching industries, right? Because we have been like memorize, vomiting the examination, you get good marks, and finally those are the things you give entrance examination. So all those things were given lot of importance. So NEP has given a lot of nice points about assessments. It has talked about formative assessments. So there are two formative assessments. Is basically assessments during the process of learning, and summative assessment is what we are doing right now. At the end of all these things, we take an examination to judge, okay, or evaluate. So again, it's a very good topic in itself, assessments, and NEP has very beautifully talked about assessments in the entire thing. So if we as individuals, as society, we stop giving so much importance to marks, parents, schools, students, everyone in the society, all the stakeholders, if we don't give a lot of such importance to the marks, that is very important. Then teachers, respect for teachers, we have already talked about. NEP has talked about B.Ed courses for teachers. But again, one very important aspect to remember over here. Now, I have read a lot about swimming. I know what are the different techniques of swimming, what kind of strokes you do, how to move the hand. I have read like several books about swimming and several internet articles. But will that make me learn swimming? No. Finally, I have to take that jump in the swimming pool. Now, we are expecting a lot of these skills from the teachers, right? That this kind of skills should be inculcated, this kind of pedagogy should be followed, this kind of language, policy, so many other things from the teachers finally. But the training which is given to the teachers is not given in this way. That is again given in the rote way. So we are again doing injustice to the nicer things which are mentioned in the policy, right? So if we have to really do justice to the policy, we have to train the teachers or polish the teachers also in the exact same way. So the teachers, unless they go through the exact same process, which we expect the teachers to do to that child, that won't be doing justice to the child then. So finally, the teachers, the kind of training they go through, that also be in the same way. There are so many in-service teachers, so there has to be a very rigorous and not just like one time. So we go to several schools now, and there are a lot of programs, training programs, 5-day program, 7-day program. So teachers will go there for promotions. So many other things are there, but finally that doesn't really make much of a difference. So unless there is a very continuous process for teachers development, that is also very important. Respect we have talked about, but what about pay? I mean, several people say that government school teachers are having good salaries, but I was just discussing with some of my friends, even if we compare government school teacher and a government school government doctor or a government engineer, the salary will be less than 50%. Why? I mean, if we say that teachers are the finally the main people who will shape the generation, aren't they? I will not call them more important than doctors or engineers, but at least equally important than doctors and engineers. Then why these discrepancies? And this is only about government school teachers. What about the private school teachers? What about the other people in the field of education? Because okay, I mean, this is just a menial job, teaching in a school. So what's a big deal about it? Teaching these 5-year-old kids, 7-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid, what's a big deal about it? Anybody can do that job. Unless that mindset goes away, we will not reach anywhere. Finally, it all boils down to these mindset more than the implementation, because unless this mindset is targeted continuously, we are not going to reach anywhere. So as a society, if we can somewhere, all of us individuals can target this mindset, that will be important thing. NEP has also given some other important aspects about formation of this RSA, which is Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog, and also creating a cadre for education services. So they have proposed this Indian education services for several positions. So these are so seems to be very reformative thing. Then in terms of budget, I mean, for every other thing, budget has been talked about that we should have increased budget, but for education, it is there across the globe. There are like any number of good countries, if we can talk about that, at least comparatively, the budget in India has traditionally been quite low, especially for the primary school education, which is, I mean, I remember hearing Kalam for any number of times where he used to say that there are only 3 most important people in any individual's life: father, mother, and primary school teacher. He always used to specify primary school teacher, not school teacher, right? So if primary school teacher is that important, then finally all the budget also has to be good for primary school education, generally school education. So unless we do justice to all these things, which will reflect even in terms of budget, we are not going anywhere. So all these things finally should reflect in the budget also. I mean, they have given nice numbers also that it should be around 6% of GDP, and finally around it is around 10% of the entire. I don't really understand a lot about budget, but 10% of the government spending, so that should also increase. So they have made all these recommendations about so many different aspects. So in a way, it seems a very nice comprehensive document. And finally, as we have discussed today, it all boils down to the implementation of all these things. So with that, I will conclude my part. If there are any questions from the audience, maybe we can take a couple of questions. Otherwise, from my side, I am done with whatever I had to. Sorry, just last 2-3 points. So as a society, if we can also have jobs which promotes the skills or innovations which are there, the jobs which requires a lot of creativity, a lot of critical thinking. So unless it reflects in the kind of job profile, society mindsets, it will not really go to the school finally. So we need, and even the higher education. So it is like at each step, these things have to be encouraged. It looks very good, very fanciful when we talk in terms of policy, skills, 21st century skills, but otherwise it won't really help anyone much. So with that, thank you everyone, and Gargi, over to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for such a informative session on NEP. It was really great where you pointed out the real life examples and how we actually learn them. Like blowing the air, the way we blow the air and the warm air and the cold air. It's really amazing. Also, when you pointed out about the simple observations which can help the students think, and then they can explore themselves. This is what is the basic need of the students when they are small. Like they have a lot of numerous questions which usually are unexplored, but through this, as you have rightly pointed out, they can keep exploring things. It's really great to have you over here, sir. Also, I can see a few questions over here. There's a question that when can we see this policy start to take effect on the ground?
Right.
The
So,
implementation part.
so NEP has actually talked about it, and it has already talked about. So we had this national curriculum framework in 2005, and that has been a very progressive document. And NEP has already talked about the next curriculum framework to be formed in 2020-21. So hopefully within a year's time we will have a curriculum framework for school education. Specifically, it has talked for school education. So hopefully in the next 1 year, and Prime Minister also has given a couple of statements that by 2022 we should have several of these things, whatever possible, slowly being realized on ground. So hopefully we will have it soon. And there are a lot of people working on it. In fact, not really to boost, but we also, I mean, if I talk about seed to sapling education, so we also as a team, we are all coming from PhD or those kind of background, and everybody working on ground to make all this possible, working with that student, working with the teacher, lot of hand holding, because it's not like a one day job, it will happen anytime. They already talked that by 2030 we will realize a couple of things and further change in policy. So hopefully by 2040, and this is all there in the document, by 2040 hopefully some of these things will start taking shape. So it's not a overnight thing that suddenly in 1 year time or 2 years time, because see, I talked about society mindset. That doesn't change anytime soon. You and me and everyone has to continuously hit, slowly, slowly, slowly.
Yes, sir. It's a really a very long journey which has to take place in order to get it into effect. Sir, you also mentioned about the various languages which the NEP focuses on. I would like to highlight one aspect of the My NEP competition. This competition has been organized in almost 13 languages, including Sanskrit. So,
Wow.
it's a very extensive thing to get all the entries in 13 languages and then scrutinizing them and then accordingly giving awards. So also there will be different awards in every language category. So it's really amazing that this competition is open for all for in almost 13 languages. Thank you so much, sir, for giving such an extensive session today. Thank you all the viewers who were live and patient enough to see and understand the new education policy. Thank you so much, sir. We'll end the session.
Sure. Thanks a lot for providing this opportunity. I also enjoyed preparing and reading and delivering this thing. Thanks a lot. Vidya Bharati, My NEP, all the organizations associated with it.